Hello, I'm Becky Tuttle, City Council Member representing District 2, and I have with me today...
Councilmember Bryan Frye, representing Northwest Wichita, District 5. It's a pleasure to be here.
How was your week?
Interesting week. The weather cooling down obviously helps things.
I love that. I tell people that I start anticipating fall in January. Fall is my very favorite holiday, very favorite season, so I love it. But it was a pretty intense week.
Yeah, I wish we would have gotten a little more rain.
Yeah, Monday was great.
We definitely need that. But, cool weather is nice. I'm a summer guy, so missing out on summer is kind of a letdown.
Not a bit. You can have it.
Okay,
well, let's jump right into it.
Sure.
So next week, it looks like we're going to have another robust city council meeting. This last week, that was probably part of the crazy week, too.
It was either number one or number two of the craziest weeks.
Touche. We had almost a 5-hour council meeting.
Yeah.
And we took a 10-minute break.
And it didn't seem like it at the beginning that it was going to take that
long.
Yeah,
no.
It just kept snowballing and...
Yep.
So,
but lots of robust discussion, which
absolutely.
I appreciated, and topics that were really important. We got a lot of good work done.
And we're not finished.
And
Some
we're
of those
not
are
finished.
still coming back to us.
They're
between
coming back.
The bathroom facilities and the short-term rentals. Both of those are coming back, so we're not done.
No, that's true. Well, we'll be starting off our meeting with repairing or removal of an unsafe structure in District 1, which is Councilmember Brandon Johnson's district. I always tell people these are some of the hardest decisions that I make because this is people's property, right? And sometimes if they're not involved in the case or, we can't even locate the owners, and it's a little bit easier. But when it's, people come before us at the council meeting
if
and
they
you
do.
see them, that's what I mean. That makes it even harder.
Yeah.
But then I also think about the community members around them, their neighbors, and having a structure that allows for maybe illicit activities and safety for the neighbors. So I have to factor that in. By the time these get to us, it's been vetted for months and sometimes even years.
Oh, yeah, definitely years. And there's usually a lot of assessments or fines that are on the property that really back property taxes.
Sure.
Again, tall weeds, criminal activity, nuisance. You're right, neighbors shouldn't have to put up with that. There should be an expectation level that the city is going to enforce this. And oftentimes, those homeowners or the property owners are not even there.
Yeah, that's true.
And so then that makes it a little easier. But then, we've obviously all heard stories of supply chain issues and people get into financial situations that maybe they can't do it as quickly as they'd like, or there's been a death in the family, and now a family member is trying to fix it and try to solve it. And so we do give grace.
Yes,
we definitely
absolutely.
do. But again, some of these go on for years and years, and that's what's frustrating.
This specific case came to us in February of 2023, and it looks like it's been deferred and 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And I know that our Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department has worked significantly with this case.
Yeah,
so
and by the time it gets to us, they've done a lot of back work.
absolutely.
So
Yep.
it could have been going on for an even longer period.
Yeah, so be curious to see how that proceeds and what Councilmember Johnson recommends. The next is we will be funding for 2023 neighborhood improvements, and this is really for all districts, but it looks like some of the projects that are going to be planned in 2023, including restriping of 21st Street North, 119th Street West to the west side of the North YMCA, close to your side, right? You mentioned something about this during agenda review. You want to share a little more?
Absolutely. So West 21st Street North between 119th and 135th is 2-lane asphalt road with very wide shoulders. A lot of vehicle traffic on that road because the Northwest Y is up there. But also there's a lot of bicycle and joggers because of the Y. And because it's 2-lane road, it makes left turns difficult. There's a lot of driveways, some businesses, etc. And drivers were to avoid queuing up behind someone making a left turn, were using the shoulder to go around. Well, that's dangerous because there's bikes and joggers. And so working with Public Works, we determined that the roadway is wide enough to not only add a center turn lane, but still have enough shoulder width for the bikes and pedestrians. And we're going to put up navigators to delineate between car traffic and pedestrian bicycle traffic. So this is a great solution. It's going to make it a lot safer out there. It'll go from 119th past the Northwest Y, so that anyone using the shoulder for jogging or biking to the Y will have that opportunity. So really looking forward to it. There's been a lot of traffic accidents out there. We've actually had a couple of deaths related to it. So this is an important safety improvement as well.
Great,
so
thank
really
you.
looking forward to that.
Thank you for the explanation. Also, implementation of some traffic calming pilot projects, which I love from my past work, especially working with active transportation, making sure that we get people to slow down. And there's lots of intentional ways that we can do that. Jackson Heights Street, Douglas Street to Central Avenue, and then also the Mid-American All-Indian Center parking evaluation. So lots of good public and neighborhood improvement projects.
Yep.
And then we will also be, speaking of the All-American Indian Center, the Hess Pump Station Reserve parking lot removal. And you know a lot more about this than I do. I have some basic knowledge of it, but the parking lot that is being used for the All-American Indian Center, that's where some of our water storage, if you will, is beneath.
Right.
And we're worried about the weight of the concrete of the parking lot, and then also the vehicles that park there. We need to make sure that we don't, hurt the integrity of that water facility, because we need it.
Right.
And so anything you want to add to that?
Right. The water treatment facility right there near the Art Museum, near Botanica, there's a lot of underground storage tanks there. And we are required to maintain a water supply, a treated water supply on tap, if you will. And that's what those tanks do. And yes, the parking lot across from the Indian Center, the Indian Museum, has been there a long time. All of that weight of the concrete and the vehicles have just started to, add to that structure, and it's not safe. And so we're going to remove all of that concrete, all of that weight, put in a new membrane, put dirt and grass over it, and it won't be used as a parking lot anymore, but we have to keep that integrity of that structure.
Sure. And we talked a little bit during agenda review of what could we do to make it a green space or, something.
Yep.
So if we have
Yeah.
some land, we should probably try and make it attractive and appealing and potentially usable.
Right, and as long as those storage tanks are there, nothing can ever be built on top of it.
Absolutely.
So all the fear that this could become developable property
That's not gonna
for
happen.
apartments or whatever, it can't. Unless someone is willing to pay to move those storage tanks as part of that, but that would be way too expensive.
Absolutely.
So we're also going to be looking at funding for pedestrian crossings. These are typically more signalization type projects, allowing pedestrians to be safe and improve walkability. I know the 3 projects that are being talked about is K-15 in Wassel, 1st and 2nd Street down at the Canal Route, and then one in your district or near your district, Woodlawn and the Redbud Trail.
Absolutely.
And so, those are all very usable spaces and a lot of activity, and you need to make it safe for people to continue to walk, and get across the street safely.
And I can tell you, not just residents in District 2, but all across the city, they love the Redbud Trail.
Oh, yeah.
And I had someone just the other day tell me that they come from Augusta just to ride the trail every weekend that they can. So really a regionally significant amenity for our community.
Well, so the entire time I was on the park board, we would do surveys, and you know what the number one physical activity is in the city of Wichita? And it's not pickleball.
Walking.
Walking.
Yeah.
Yep, for recreation and exercise. And so continue to have a network of sidewalks, biking paths, walking paths, trails. That adds to the quality of life and makes it enjoyable. Fortunately, we have good enough weather in this part of the country that walking is enjoyable pretty much year-round. And so it's good to have. And speaking of being healthy, right? Love that segue. We're going to be looking at the plans for employee health, vision, and dental insurance premiums. Earlier this year, we made a change with our health insurance premium our provider, and this just kind of, I think, finalizes it so that we'll be able to hit the 2024 year with the new policies in place. This helps us attract employees when you have good premiums and good health insurance and dental insurance. continue to make this a great place to work and attract potential employees.
Absolutely. I will be abstaining from this vote, as I always have to, due to a personal conflict of interest, but really thankful for our HR team for the work that they do in this.
I've got to get a lot of work done before my term ends, so I'm looking forward to maximizing the vision and dental insurance before the end of the year. So
That's fantastic.
Then finally, not finally, but we also have a bond note sale. This helps our capital improvement projects. These bonds will help fund West Bank improvements, special assessment facade projects, and more. I know staff always puts it out for bid, and we get multiple bidders, and then this will help us, just continue to get great rates on the loans and the projects that we fund. So
We'll also review our annual Housing and Urban Development Plan and Evaluation Report, which will provide will allow us to continue to receive federal funding for housing and community service activities. We're required to prepare a consolidated annual performance and evaluation report each year. I tell people all the time, there's 18 different departments within the city of Wichita, and housing is still sometimes the most confusing to me, and especially because of all the acronyms.
I was just going to say that.
Looking at all of this, and I was going to be,
Yep.
and give the community a little bit of an update about, and there's more acronyms in here than
Right.
not. So hopefully, and Sally, I think, our awesome 21st century director of housing and community services explains it well.
Right.
So she'll be able to come before us to the bench and just give us an update. But this really is just reporting to the federal
Right.
government on our plan.
I think the only other department that probably has more acronyms would be WAMPO, Transportation.
WAMPO, I would say that, but we've created it within the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. We actually created like a grid or an acronym.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, the glossary.
Yeah, because when I first got on council, I couldn't keep up. So I said,
Yeah.
could we do this? And so many people appreciate that. And I still use it, and I've been doing it 4.5 years.
I know, it's crazy.
So we're also going to be looking at affordable housing fund plan updates. This is something that through the ARPA dollars to support and respond to recovery from COVID. And so this has to do again with affordable housing. So we'll hear again from Sally Stang, our director.
Yeah, we dedicated some money for affordable housing, and we've tried a couple of different programs. Some have worked, some haven't as well, and so this is just some tweaking and maybe adjusting some of the way we fund it and the programs that we're doing with it. So it's good to do. We have to do it. We have a critical, urgent situation with housing, and
for sure.
the demand, especially in the core, is just going to continue with the Wichita Biomedical Center, and just the increased demand to live downtown.
Yeah, there's going to be a need for 1,300 more
Yeah.
units just downtown alone because of that one project.
Yep,
So,
fantastic.
yeah, one of the things that we learned in a workshop with housing a couple months ago, I think it was, and I've been touting this, and today I was on a roundtable with Senator Marshall talking about homelessness, especially among veterans, but within the city of Wichita, we're trying to be thought leaders about this and talking about affordable housing, which is subsidized by government, but then talking about housing that's affordable and what we can do at the city,
Right.
such as zoning changes or different things that allow for people to have housing that's affordable, even if they don't qualify for the government subsidy.
Right. And looking at different zoning code adjustments that would allow for different types of affordable housing, and that's really what the Places for People plan was about too, and trying to think outside the box and do different types of zoning to allow properties to get developed that have been vacant for too long, because it's just not the size and style of housing is different from when the urban core was first developed, and so you have to make some adjustments.
And so I get to say finally in Old Town, we're adjusting language to allow for tattoo and body piercing businesses. This was an original Old Town zoning overlay, and the Old Town Association realized it was outdated and wished to amend the language.
Yep.
So I think coming to Century 2 is some sort of tattoo convention.
Correct.
And that was the catalyst for this coming to us.
Right.
So,
And again, also just tattoos and piercings have become so much more mainstream
absolutely.
and accepted. You're seeing tattoo parlors pop up in the suburbs, and when they've normally always been in less desirable locations, and now you see them throughout downtown and in places all across the city. So again, it's just become more acceptable and more frequent.
Yeah.
I don't have any. These are real freckles. These are not tattoos. So.
Well, yeah, we should make everybody from the bench on Tuesday call out if they've got a tattoo or not.
I don't know.
Truth or dare from the bench.
Right.
All right. So lots going on this weekend.
Yes.
There are so many activities. I am going to Ottoman Art this evening, which
Okay.
is in my district in Bradley Fair, something that I always try and visit. Tomorrow morning, there's a passageways.
Yeah, I'm doing that as well.
A walk run
Yep,
that supports
volunteering.
supports veterans.
Yep.
So I'll be volunteering that. There's the Chester I. Lewis opening.
Yes, the Chester I. Lewis Reflection Park.
Ribbon cutting activities.
All the art is finally complete. Did a preview of it earlier this week during the rain, and they were still putting all the final panels together, and last minute. The whole park is so much better than what it was. It's much larger, and it's a great entry to that whole area with the osteopathic school, just our downtown Douglas streetscape. It's really neat. Looking forward to seeing the crowd out there tomorrow.
Yeah, and then Sunday is one of my favorite activities of the year, Open Streets ICT. Way before I was on council, I was one of the folks that did the very first Open Streets ICT, and I've been to every one since. And I'll never forget the very first one. It was on a Sunday, and I was standing in the middle of Douglas Street, and I was watching people in the middle of Douglas walk and run and on bikes and skateboards and strollers and scooters, and I just thought, wow, this is such an amazing event. And as the planners, we didn't know if 50 people were going to come or 50,000 people would come.
Yeah.
But every year it just gets bigger and better. So I'm just hoping for good weather on Sunday, and hopefully just a wonderful event, and everybody to just come down to the city's core and see what's there and see how much it's changing.
I remember my first Open Streets. I was a part owner of a chocolate store, and we set up a s'mores cooking station on Douglas.
Oh, brilliant.
And we made s'mores and gave away to everybody that was there that day.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it was fun to have light a fire and grill on Douglas Street.
On Douglas Street.
Interesting. And also can't forget, this is the final weekend for Wichita Wind Surge.
That's true.
The last homestand of the regular season. Tomorrow night is Pack the Park night. They're trying to get 10,000 people there. They've already sold 9,000 tickets.
Oh, good.
And so it should be good. A fundraiser that I was involved with called Bourbon Salute. It's an event to raise money for first sergeants out of McConnell. They're going to present the check from that fundraiser tomorrow night, and hosting a bunch of servicemen from McConnell in the city suite tomorrow night.
Great.
So
I was at that event as well, and I'll be there tomorrow night.
Yep. So get out tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday.
I always tell people, if you're bored in Wichita, please come sit next to me.
Oh,
and,
there's a
and
lot
just
to
let me
do.
help you find what to do. And especially during the fall, there's always an abundance of activities. Just the weather cooling off brings people outside.
It does.
To gather together and celebrate our great city.
Sure. All right, here's the moment we've been leading up to.
Not waiting for.
Yeah, leading up to the surprise question. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Is never appropriate.
Yeah, I was.
The only time, I guess,
when there's an HBO special.
yeah, maybe, and not Roman Empire, but we deal with a lot of Roman numerals being on city council,
Right.
just because of agendas and packets. But no, I'm sorry to say, I'm probably disappointing all the history teachers
Right.
within the city of Wichita, but I do not think about the Roman Empire.
Probably think more about Julius Caesar and specific instances of the Roman Empire than the actual length of time that the Roman Empire was.
Still a no. Got a lot of other
sorry.
things on my mind.
Sorry,
That
I
is
know-
not one of them.
I know you were probably expecting something different from us, but yeah, I'm just going to have to say, not often. Not at all.
No.
No.
I'm thinking about our empire here in Wichita.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this weekly edition of Council Chat. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.